Hey, it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, March 2nd. Okay, so we have the moon in Aries energy, but we're going void, of course, at 8:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here's the kicker. We are going to sit into this void pretty much all day, carrying us into early Monday, and we're going to be locking in to the Taurus energy at 5:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, early Monday morning, March the 3rd. So that is a huge window of time to have the moon be void. When the moon is void, things are shaky, unstable, uncertain. We kind of lose a grip on some of the things that we were sure of, and our emotions are bouncing all over the place. Now, not to mention, here yesterday on the 1st, we had Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, and money. She went retrograde in Aries energy. So we're still kind of adjusting to the pivot taking place in our heart space. We have a lot to unpack, a lot to kind of bring up and break down where our self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem is concerned, our wants, needs, and desires are concerned, and who and what. Bringing the happiness, bringing the joy, bringing the safety, security, stability, and who and what does not. And of course, that's going to lead to some major implications of seeing relationship dynamics change. And of course, what we want, need, and desire change. Therefore, the path, the direction that we're going to be walking is going to be changing. There's all kinds of change going on in March. If you haven't listened to the March energy overview as of yet, I'm going to recommend you do so. If you haven't downloaded your March energy guide as of yet, I'm going to recommend you do that. Today is the last day that Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, is going to be in Pisces energy. So first of all, we're reaching the last degrees here in the Pisces energy, and that is going to bring an intensity to that headspace. We have a lot of popping off to do because, of course, there's a lot of planets in these late degrees of this Pisces energy. So Mercury is going to be kind of teaming up in good and bad ways with some of these planets to kind of give us a different perspective to be working with. And of course, Mercury is going to be moving into Aries energy here March 3rd. If you haven't listened to that astro forecast as of yet, I'm going to recommend you do that. And again, Mercury dipping into Aries energy is very short-lived. We will see Mr. Mercury go retrograde at the exact same degree, technically 1 degree of separation, that Venus retrograded at. She went retrograde at 10 degrees. Mercury is retrograding at 9 degrees. And of course, later on in the month, we have a new moon solar eclipse popping off in Aries energy, the final eclipse event for the Aries and Libran axis. And that will be popping off at the 9 degree in Aries energy as well. So it is very important that you pay attention to what's going on in your headspace, what kind of downloads you're receiving, where it is that certain thoughts, certain ideas are consuming your mind, because we are going to be addressing those particular concerns from now until technically May. Why? Because again, Mercury is going to retrograde in this Aries energy, go all the way back into Pisces energy, and then go direct, make his way through that Pisces energy again, re-enter that Aries energy, and then again, we'll be free and clear later in May. So there's a lot going on. Now, here today, there are 9 different aspects. 7 of those aspects are going to involve the moon. So the moon in Aries energy at this particular juncture going to make a very positive interaction with the sun in Pisces, which is a beautiful interaction for us, because anytime that the sun and the moon are coming together, there's going to be an aha moment. There's going to be a download. There's going to be an epiphany, if you will, with what we want, what we need, what we desire, and what we have to do to get it. Now, emotionally speaking, in Aries energy, we are futuristically focused. We have no want, need, or desire to look back, but we're still in Pisces season. So there's a lot of reflection that needs to be had in order to bring certain topics and themes and karmic chapters to an end, to a closure point. So the moon in this Aries energy is all hyped up because emotionally speaking, we're gaining a little bit of clarity on what we want, need, and desire, moving on and moving forward. The sun shining a bright light in Pisces energy is illuminating to us what we have to end and close the door upon before we have the space to create these new things. And so this is a beautiful interaction because it gives us the boldness, bravery, and courage to do the hard things, which is detaching, closing the door upon, letting go of people, places, and things that, of course, we're no longer resonating with, and that we have no want, need, or desire to continue to build upon or pour into, moving into these new chapters. The moon in Aries then going to sextile, which is a beautiful interaction with Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, intuition, beliefs, abundance, and blessings. Jupiter, of course, is in Gemini energy. We have air and fire. This is going to give us a spark, a fire, a flame. This is a combustion point, if you will. Jupiter is bringing the optimism. He's bringing the confidence. He is showing us where it is that we have the ability to take action and make moves and grow upon, expand upon some of the ideas that we've been on the fence about. This is a beautiful interaction to not only hype us up, again, kind of building and cultivating the self-confidence, self-worth, self-esteem that we're going to need to enter into this new chapter. But it's magnifying for us areas of interest that, again, we've been percolating on, debating between. Now there is this new motivation, determination, excitement, passion, if you will, to kind of see this particular chapter through and to jump into a particular chapter where, again, we're growing and expanding upon some of the information, wisdom, and knowledge we've already learned the hard way. The moon in Aries is then going to make a beautiful interaction with Pluto, the great transformer, in Aquarius energy. So again, we have fire and air popping off. This is going to be a beautiful energy for us because Pluto bosses us up. He puts us in a more powerful placement to kind of show our authority over our thoughts, over our emotions, and eventually over our actions as well. We have a lot of aha moments popping off. We have a major shift in our mood and our attitude. We're tapping into that warrior type of spirit to do what needs to be done in order to align us with that goal, vision, and dream that we're very excited to pursue. The moon in Aries is then going to get into the boxing ring, square off with Mars. So Mars rules over that Aries energy that the moon is in, and Mars is in Cancer energy. And of course, the moon is in a rulership in that Cancer energy. So this is called mutual reception when, they're kind of changing roles, so to speak. The square is going to highlight where we're going through some growing pains. And there's a lot of growing pains going on right now, especially emotionally speaking, because again, we're in Pisces season. We have to wrap up the old version of self, the old pains and traumas, the old experiences before we can start fresh and start new, which of course we're not going to be doing until we enter into Aries season. Mars, specifically in this Cancer energy, of course, he just went direct. He's still not up to snuff or up to speed, so to speak. He's still kind of, I'm going to say, in a state of paralysis. He's not moving as fast as he would like. He doesn't have as many options and opportunities to take action and make moves like he would like. And instead, we're still trying to build up, cultivate that fire, spark, flame within us to really kind of see where our emotions or our intuition driving us to close doors, close chapters, and therefore emotionally and intuitively speaking, pushing us towards building something new. Now, a square is going to highlight, again, where we're going through growing pains. The problem here is emotionally speaking, in this Aries energy, we're hot to trot. We're ready to blaze a new path, moving on and moving forward. However, Mars in Cancer energy, not quite there yet. He would like to be there yet. However, we are in defense mode. We're in elimination mode. And so the actions that we are being presented with are to wrap up certain chapters, to close doors upon people, places, and things that, again, we have outgrown, that we have learned the lesson from, that for some reason we're still holding on to. Again, we're in cleanup mode. And so the eager beaverness of the moon being in this Aries energy is kind of snuffed out because we can't take action and make moves to initiate something new. We can take action and make moves to close doors upon the past. 8:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the moon is going to go void, of course. And remember, we sit in this void until early morning, March 3rd. So this is going to be a wild day of bouncing emotions. Just keep that in mind. 11:22 a.m., we have Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, how it is that we express ourselves in the final degrees of this Pisces energy, coming up to, bumping into, teaming up with, conjuncting Neptune in his rulership in this Pisces energy. So first of all, this is going to put us in a very, I'm going to call it whimsical state of thought, meaning we're kind of retreating from reality. We're moving into our mental plane. There's a lot of la la land imagery that is kind of popping off in our headspace. There's a lot of downloads, especially where creative solutions to some long-term standing problems are popping off. We are tapping into the dreaminess, the mysticalness, the inspiring part of this Pisces energy, but we're not going to be able to do much with it. Meaning, we're having a hard time understanding what's going on in our headspace. We're having an even harder time putting it into words, and we're having an even harder time trying to figure out what we're supposed to do with this information, how we're actually supposed to work with it, how we're supposed to bring it to life. And so again, it feels like there are mental blocks when our intellect kicks in and tries to make sense of some of the information, some of the thoughts that are kind of streaming in our mind's eye. But things are all over the place. We want to talk about our futuristic dreams, our goals, our visions. It could be very hard to put into words. But at the same time, like, we're kind of in this state of just kind of allowing our headspace to show us what it is that we should be focused on. This is intellect and intuition weaving together, if you will. We will receive an insight from our intuition, then our intellect kicks in to try and make sense of it. Of course, we can't make sense of it, so we create more confusion than there needs to be. We're ebbing and flowing, and there's a scatterbrainedness that comes with this. And of course, it just puts us in a situation where, yeah, there is this inspired, creative part that we're tapping into, but again, we're having a hard time understanding what we're supposed to do with it, let alone be able to express it fully to other people. And so what I will say is this is a beautiful time to kind of jot down some of the beautiful insights coming into your brain that, again, we can talk about later when it is easier to kind of communicate and articulate. But at the same time, you can lose yourself in trying to make sense of things that aren't really meant to be made sense of at this particular juncture. And it is a very hard dynamic to tap into practicality. So definitely use your imagination for good instead of evil, but just understand that there's a lot of complicated topics and themes coming up for a review in that headspace. We then have the sun in Pisces energy getting into the boxing ring, squaring off with Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings, of course, in Gemini energy. And so a square is highlighting where we're going through growing pains. We have Pisces energy and Gemini energy. They're both mutable signs, thus the square. The sun in Pisces energy shining a bright light on, again, where endings and closures need to take place before we're going to have the space to build something new. And Jupiter, of course, is going to expand the options and opportunities, the perspective that we currently have. So the deal here is that Jupiter tends to over-exaggerate and magnify whatever it is that we're kind of thinking or doing. And the eager beaverness for us to kind of move on, move forward, and expand upon some of the ideas that we've been on the fence about, it's going to be magnified. We're going to feel this pressure, like we need to do this. We have to do this. But we're not in the ideal time to actually take action or make any kinds of moves. So we're having some big ideas, especially where inspiration is concerned, creativity is concerned, but we're not really able to act upon it. Granted, this is going to definitely put us in a better mood, a better attitude. We are much more optimistic, much more, I'm going to say, hopeful and wishful for things to come, especially compared to pre-new moon in Pisces. But at the same time, things are kind of over-exaggerated. They're not as, let's call it, as big of an idea as it actually is. It's not as exciting as we actually feel that it is. It's not as obtainable as we think that it actually is. And this could set us up for disappointment. Now, granted, we are kind of seeing where it is that we do have options and opportunities to move on and move forward, growing and evolving with the information, the wisdom that we've already accumulated through tough love life lessons. But at the same time, we're biting off way more than we can chew. And that is going to set us up for disappointment in the days to come. So we want to be very careful that we're not committing to things, that we're not pushing ourselves to take action, that we're not kind of going balls to the walls in the way that our emotions would typically typically speaking, want us to at this particular juncture. So then the moon in Aries energy, and again, we're in this void, is going to come up to, bump into, team up with, conjunct Chiron, that wounded healer. So a conjunction is just as much of an ending as it is a beginning, but because the moon is void and things are kind of scatterbrained and all over the place, this is a wild card energy. I would say because we just had some very important downloads, some big ideas, there's a tough time with energy management. Again, hopefully not biting off more than we can chew. I would say that typically speaking, we become overwhelmed at this particular juncture and we start kind of speaking fear into a lot of the things that we were excited about. And I would say that we're starting to question our ability to actually do all of these things. And again, Chiron being the wounded healer aspected in a negative way is going to focus on the wounds, the pains, the traumas, the fears, the doubts, the insecurities, and aspected in a good way, going to help see where it is that we are bossing up, where we're growing, where we're evolving, where we're kind of, again, building in our self-confidence and our self-esteem. So it's definitely going to be a wild card energy to see how that manifests for each and every single one of us. We have the moon still in this void, still in Aries energy, then going to make a beautiful interaction with Saturn. Saturn being the Lord of Karma, ruling over roles, responsibilities, systems, structures, foundations, willpower, and discipline in this Pisces energy. Again, trying to dissolve the old world, the old version of self, the old false belief system that built all of those things. We're trying to wrap up a chapter, a very important karmic chapter. But what I love about this is that, first of all, it kind of brings us back down to earth just a tad, which is going to be super helpful because, again, the moon is void, so we're bouncing all over the place. Secondary to that, I think that Mr. Saturn's going to bring a little bit more of an inner realm organization so that we're not so overwhelmed with the bouncing around of our emotions. And then third to that, I think that Mr. Saturn is going to give us a different perspective on what we need to address first and foremost, what we need to remove and eliminate and close the door upon before, again, we can wholeheartedly start pouring into what we want to build, what we want to create from here. Now, the last thing that we got going on here today is the moon in this void, in this Aries energy, making a beautiful interaction with Uranus, who of course is in Taurus energy. So Uranus is the great awakener. He gives us a lightning bolt of inspiration. He shows us a different perspective. He opens us up to have an aha moment, a very powerful download that, of course, you can't unknow. And so Uranus in this Taurus energy, of course, is helping us to detach from the physical people, places, and things that, again, we've outgrown, that we no longer resonate with. And the moon in this Aries energy is hot to trot. We're ready to cut cords. We're ready to do whatever needs to be done in order to free us up to start building towards new things, because we are absolutely just tired and exhausted with dealing with all of this old. So what we're going to get here is a powerful infusion of energies that's probably going to be very hard to manage in our physical bodies. If you haven't listened to the Ascension forecast for this week, I'm going to recommend you do so. This is going to be a lot of energy bouncing around in our physical form. It could definitely manifest as excitement, likely going to manifest for many of us as overwhelming anxiety. And a lot of that is just because there's just pure electricity coming in from the higher realms of intelligence where Uranus is concerned. And again, we're not in the proper position to take action and make moves in our physical form like we would like in order to actually exert that energy in a healthy way. So it's bouncing around in us, and we have to give it a healthy, the output, if you will. We have to get it out of us in a healthy way, but it is going to be a lot of energy to handle because, again, the impulse to take action and make moves is definitely there, but we have to resist that at all costs. We are not in a situation right now to take any kind of action or make any kind of moves, and harnessing that energy in us is definitely going to be a task.